What's happening, people? William Jesperson, I see you. What's up from Denmark? That's crazy. Wayanoid drummer. Indonesia. What's going on, man? Zarin Sadler, I recognize you. What's up? Andre, nice to see you too, man. Hank from Eugene, Oregon. What's going on? Hope you got your practice pad out. Macedonia. Brian Pinta, you're quite welcome, man. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, if you got a practice pad, grab one. We're here for an hour. Might as well get them hands in shape. Marlon, got so much better from watching videos. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching. Central Cali in the house. What's up? Scotland. Joe Anderson, what's happening? Isaac, go Ducks. Sure, why not? San Francisco. What up, Grand Pumbaa? South Africa. Man, that's crazy, man. What's your name? Garden Route Machine Shop. What's happening? Who's calling from Turkey? Cancun? Caravarna? Hope I said that right. Turkey, that's crazy. Cesar, come back to traditional. You know it. New Zealand, hang on one sec. Who's from New Zealand? I'm gonna say Araud Monroe. I apologize if I messed that up, but shout out to you, man. Bulgaria. What time is it in Bulgaria? That's crazy. Drummer Travis from Seattle, what's happening? Ted Richardson just did the 20-minute doubles. If you haven't seen that video yet, I got a video on my channel where we're doing double strokes for 20 minutes. That'll really get your hands in shape. Check that one out. Let me, hang on one second. Hang on, man. These are piling in. Look at all these people. That's crazy. Hold up. Let me catch up. Chris from Thousand Islands, what's happening? Gary Madar, I recognize you, man. Let me get to your question right now since I'm looking at it. How about a drill to keep the left wrist on plane? I use match grip, but my wrist wants to rotate as in I used traditional grip in the past. It's a muscle memory thing. So you really just got to train the muscles to do what it needs to do. So one thing that you can do, one thing that I used to do, it's pretty nerdy, but it works. Basically, when you're playing the match grip, man, you can really just take a look at your hands and make sure that they're an exact mirror of each other. You know what I'm saying? So speaking of mirror, if you want to do that, you can practice in front of one, or if you got a laptop, just turn on the webcam, point it down towards your hands, and make sure they look exactly the same when you're doing them, right? Because technically they should look exactly the same. And it's just a muscle memory thing, man. Repetition fixes everything. So if your wrist is doing some weird stuff, you just got to train it to do the right stuff. And you can do that by, you can literally let the hand that knows what to do, train the other one. It's as simple as that, right? So if you already got one hand in shape that can do all of that stuff, take your time with it, start slow, and just let one hand train the other one. Pick a particular movement. So you just want to learn how to do that. Start slow, do it with the other hand, and make sure they look exactly the same, just like that. And you can alternate. They should look the same, they should feel the same. You know, they should be pointing the exact same way. Even the fingers, man, just take a look at the fingers and make sure that they're an exact mirror image of the other one. And that's really all it is, man. That's it. You do that a couple million times in a row, problem solved. Miguel from Medicine Hat, what's happening? Hold on. Joe Anderson, cheap wine and French grip all day. There's no wrong grip. There's no wrong grip. If there's any grip haters out there watching right now, calm down, man. You're embarrassing yourself. Dave, Czech Republic, what's happening? Freddie Garn from England. Man, this is nuts. I dig hearing where you guys are from. This is crazy. Hold on. Little Drummer says he's struggling with doubles. Can you teach? Of course I can teach. I got plenty of videos on my channel regarding double strokes. Just type it in the search bar, Rob Brown, double strokes, whatever. I'm sure something will pop up. But I'm pretty detailed in my videos. I'm sure they're going to help you out. Zarin wants to know, hang on, let me read this. You said that a head spinal G was in the top 3 most comfortable thrones. Absolutely. I think it's number 1, to be honest with you. What's number 1? Well, there you go. That's my answer. The spinal G, man. I sat on a lot of thrones. That spinal G is something else. There's something about that thing, just the way it's contoured. It's really, really comfortable. Gibraltar has some really good ones. The rocking sock throne is a bit of a classic. If anybody out there has one of those, that's another good one. But that spinal G, man, that thing is a champ. Philip Cook, Plymouth, England, what's happening? Somebody has a question about being able to practice in apartments. What's your name, man? Hold on a second. Bayesian, I'm going to say Bayesian Alpha 4. Wants to know what you can do to practice in apartments. Well, thankfully, you got a lot of options. Honestly, like there's a lot of options out there now for apartment drummers, whether you got a real kit in there. I don't know what kind of apartment allows you to set up real drums in your place, but if you got a real kit, then there's a lot of solutions for that. There's a few companies out there making mesh heads that you can replace your real heads on. Completely quiet down your drums to do that. There are low volume cymbals that are available. I think that's a much better option than those those rubber pads you can put over your cymbals. Nah, not a fan of those, man. I say invest. I mean, if it's something that's somewhat permanent and it makes sense to spend the money on it, get yourself some low volume cymbals and throw them on your kit. Steve Smith has a few recent videos where he's practicing in his apartment. And he's got the full setup. So check that out. You can also get rubber pad kits, practice kits. There's a few options for you. James Nelson from Montreal, what's happening? Cal Schultz, thanks for the compliment, man. Waynoid Drummer wants to know, how do you develop interest in different genres of music so you can apply the style and get the feel on the drums? There's only one way to do it, and that's to just listen to a bunch of different music, really. That's not something that anybody can tell you to do. You know what I mean? You're either interested in different styles or you're not. But there's enough of them out there. I mean, you won't have a problem finding other genres out there that you're interested in. A lot of them are kind of in the same family anyways. Like there's a lot of subgenres of different types of stuff. I'm going to take this off, man, because it's hot in here. It's cold outside here, but I'm hot. I'm going to take this off. All right. Yeah, just introduce yourself to a bunch of different styles of music. And one good way to do it is to start with the drummer. Find a drummer that you dig, and then find out who they play with. That's one really good way to do it. I became a massive Joni Mitchell fan when I discovered that Vinny played on one of her albums. So I bought that album strictly because Vinny played on it. And then while I was listening to it, I completely fell in love with Joni Mitchell. So that's another good thing to do. Look at all these people, man. What up, Philip from Slovakia? You're here all the time, man. I recognize you. Huh? Bayesian Alpha 4 says I'm the first person to pronounce that correctly. You know what? English was my absolute greatest subject ever. I rocked at English in high school. So yeah, I'm pretty good at that stuff. Yeah, Rowda Monroe. Rowda. I said it before and I thought I got it right, and then I'm saying it again and I'm thinking I'm messing it up. But he's saying I should do a collab with another drummer. I'd love to. There's a couple of drummers out there that I'm really digging. You know what? One dude I want to shout out that I became pretty good friends with real quick, at least on social media, is Juan Carlos Mendoza. That dude is a phenomenal friggin' drummer. If you haven't checked his channel out, check him out. He's awesome. But yeah, maybe one day we'll do something. I kind of did something with our friend Austin over at Study the Greats. A couple of years ago, we did a little bit of a collab on a Vinny Phil video that I did. But yeah, man. One thing that we want you to get is that there's no competition out here. Like, I know a lot of people watching right now, like, all watch the same channels. We're not competing, man. Like, we're all just out here trying to show you some stuff. So, I mean, we all kind of see what each other's doing, and we're, sometimes comment on each other's channels. But yeah, I mean, this is all one big community. There's no competition out here. So yeah, perhaps I'll pursue some kind of collab at some point. Ezra Terry, what about Tim Alexander? Tim Alexander, I'm not going to say he was one of my original heroes, but I was way into Tim Alexander when I was in high school because somebody introduced me to Primus, and that was it for me. That first album, the first Primus tune I heard was John the Fisherman. And I could not believe what I was hearing. The way he plays through that tune is just nuts. So, yeah, became a really big Tim Alexander fan from that tune. Hold up, y'all. Let me catch up. Let me catch it. Cornwall, UK. Who's that? Mike Miller from Cornwall, UK. What's happening? Jeremiah Jackson. Hello, I'm 16 years old. I'm wondering how can I make a living as a drummer? Step number one. This is a good question. This is actually something I like to talk about. Step number one is don't think of yourself as just a drummer. All right? When you're trying to pursue a career as a drummer, you got to think more like an entrepreneur. Because a lot of people just kind of think that, drumming is just all about performing and recording and maybe teaching on the side, and that's it. Not true, man. There's a whole lot of things that you can tie in to what you want to do. So this is what I suggest. Write down 3 things that you're really good at. 3, at least 3. I'm going to say 3 to 5, maybe 5 to 10 if you got enough. But write down all of your strengths, whatever strengths you have. Take a look at them and then figure out how you can relate those to the drums. That's it. There's always something that you can tie in to the drums, right? If you're a great communicator and you love to talk, you can start a podcast about drums. You can talk to other drummers. Because the internet's got a lot of opportunities. Lots of opportunities to make money. If you got a popular podcast, companies will pay to advertise on your podcast, right? So it's just one thing that you can do. You got to think more, how many different streams of income can you center around what you love to do? That's how you make a living. If you decide that you're just going to gig and tour, you're going to starve. You're going to have some cool moments, but it's very hard to sustain that if that's all you're doing. So that's my suggestion, man. Whatever you're good at, even if and it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's fishing. I don't care if it's friggin' skateboarding, whatever it is, math, doesn't matter. Somehow there's a way to tie it in to what you love to do. Free advice for the day. Clay Foster. My paradiddles and doubles have gotten good, but slowish. But I suck at figuring out how to incorporate them into my playing. Well, I tell you, there's no shortage of information on that subject. If you want a really good sort of masterclass on incorporating paradiddles or any kind of rudiment into your drumming, you got to watch dudes like Steve Gadd. Steve Gadd's done so many things, so many different things with the paradiddle. It's amazing. Billy Cobham is another one. He's a very sort of rudimental drummer. If you can find old videos of Bill Bruford, he used to play for King Crimson. He's another one. There are a lot of drummers, man, that really sort of, I don't want to say base their style on paradiddles and rudimental playing, but there's quite a bit of them. But as far as how to get into it, man, the easiest way to do it is to just practice it. You got to think of whatever rudiment that you're playing, think of that rudiment as just a sticking pattern. All right? It starts with the hands. All it is a sticking pattern. That's it. You can take that to the drums and you can divide that up millions of different ways. And it's just a matter of separating the hands. Like if you want to turn that into a fill, you can do that. Just play the paradiddle, you know, separate the hands, break them up. Play the right hand on the floor tom, left hand on tom 1. Whatever you want to do. There's a lot of ways that you can break up a paradiddle. So I think I might have a couple of videos on how to do that. Check my channel. Can't remember because I got almost 250 something, maybe even 400. I got a lot of videos. But just type in Rob Brown rudiments and see what pops up. I'm sure I got something. The Senate wants to know if I have tips for beginner marching snare drummers. Yeah, I suggest searching for a marching snare drummer because I'm not that. I'm not that. I appreciate when people think that I am because it's just a testament to my hand development. But I'm not a marching snare drummer, man. I wish I was, but I am not. Hang on here. We got a super chat in the house. AJ Bambino. What's happening from Chicago? Can you talk about elbow injuries? Wow, you're out of commission for a month from elbow injuries. Well, I'm not a doctor, first of all. And I've never had an elbow injury. I've had other types of injuries on my arm, but I don't know. I mean, the first thing you got to do is recover. If drumming is holding you back from recovering, then just pull back a little bit, cool out, and recover first. If you're out for a month, then just use that month wisely. Just focus on something else while your elbow is recovering, because you don't want to make it worse. Like you don't want to jump in too early and start practicing too heavy while you got that injury, and then in turn end up making it worse, because then you're going to be out for 6 months. So just figure out something else to do. Like even if you got to sit on your kit and just move your feet around, you know what I mean? Like just do that. But yeah, recovery comes first, man. Heal up before you get on them drums. Getting caught up. Give me a sec. Bogart Sandoval, can you show us your fastest single stroke? I'll do it if you drop me $5. How about that? No, honestly, like I don't even know what. The last time I clocked it, I was able to get up to like 200 beats a minute or something. I think it's not something that I can sustain for long periods of time. And it doesn't bother me because I'm never going to need to keep this up for longer than a couple of beats. So I don't really, like, I'm not here for 15 minutes trying to play at 200 BPM for that. But yeah, I mean, for fast singles, first I'll go to the wrist, like that. You know, if I need to go any faster, then I'll lock the wrist and just use the fingers. But yeah, it's, you know, I'm not into party tricks, you know what I'm saying? I use it if it's necessary, but that's about my fastest single stroke. Just catching up. Amir, what's up from Israel? Miguel, I see your super chat. Hang on, bro. Yeah, Amir wants to know, do you have a practice schedule or weekly plan? I do not, and I never did. When I was starting out playing, I never had a schedule. I didn't really believe in schedules because, quite frankly, I didn't need them. Because you could not get me to stop practicing. Practicing used to be a problem for me because I was always in the basement. Like, I would practice 5, 6 hours at a time, like no joke, because I would go downstairs and just play the music. I played to a lot of music, like a lot of my favorite bands, Police, Represent, Love 42, Big Country. Like, I would just throw on a bunch of albums and play right through them, all of them, hours at a time. And next thing I know, you know, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So routines, I didn't have them, man. I just went downstairs and did what I felt like doing. It wasn't until later on that I started to narrow down and do a little bit of target practice, you know, working on the hands and stuff like that. But that was more just doing this kind of thing in front of the TV. That's it. Just repetitive movements for a long time. Like, I never pull out a practice pad and say, okay, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? If you have the luxury of time, you can do that. Some people need a little bit more time management. But when you got free time, which most of us do now during this freaking COVID, then why not? Like, if you're not doing anything, pick up a pad and a pair of sticks and just start moving your hands, really. Let me make sure I didn't miss any chats here. Hold up. Bogart, Sandoval. Thanks, man. Miguel wants to know, how can I develop foot control and speed? And how do I know if my foot is properly positioned? The quickest way to answer this, honestly, is to check out my video on single pedal. I have one on there. Admittedly, I don't have an amazing foot. Like, I know people, I got close friends that have unbelievable single technique on a single pedal. I'm not that, but I'm pretty good. So there's a video on my channel how you can, and it's pretty detailed. So you have a really good idea of how you can practice it, foot position, like how it needs to sit on the pedal, all that kind of stuff. I talk about all of that in the video. But in a nutshell, you know, if that's your pedal, this is your foot. What you want to sort of try to get into the habit of doing, if you're a heel up player, all you're going to do is lift your heel up off the plate, about an inch, maybe inch and a half, and then learn how to work it from the hinge, like that, right? So when you're playing your pedal, you're going to be working from the heel. And you can learn how to pivot the pedal with your toes. All of the control starts there. That's what I can tell you. But if you go back and check out the video, you'll find out everything else you need to know. Yeah, I just noticed you said your heel down. Get that heel up off the ground about an inch, inch and a half. And you know, once you get that heel up technique happening, then you're opening a door to a lot more control there. So check that out. Paul Lynch wants to know what my daily routine is that helps me focus on progression. I don't really have one. And progression is not necessarily something you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is just consistency. Just practice on a regular basis. And the progression will just happen, right? Don't make progression a target. Just try to focus on development. Whatever it is that you're trying to develop, whether it's your hands or your feet or your technique or your whatever it is that you're working on, just focus on that, man. Don't put a time limit on progression. Because as long as you're practicing on a regular basis, you're going to get better. That's all you got to worry about. Dedrick Parker. Being a Yamaha guy, you into David Garibaldi? Who isn't? You know what? Here's another one. Going back to, I forget your name, but you asked that question about paradiddles on the kit. That's another dude to check out. David Garibaldi. That guy's a beast. As a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to share the stage with him a couple of years ago. That was a fantastic experience. And yeah, it was at a Yamaha party. We had a local sort of Yamaha party at a club downtown. And we had a couple of, well, more than a couple. Like the place was just full of Yamaha drummers, and it was just a big hang. But there was a jam going on the stage, and everybody's kind of signed up to play one tune. And I had the very scary opportunity, because there was two kids on the stage. I had the very scary opportunity of following David Garibaldi. So, not fun, a little bit of pressure, but I did all right. But he's a great guy, man. He's super, super, super nice guy. Hang on a sec. Just making sure I ain't missing nobody's super chats here. Philip Osco, what's happening, man? Thanks very much for your super chat. He's just saying thanks for all the free lessons. I learned a lot from you. Also the rooted hoodie. You got a rooted hoodie? Shout out to you, man. Congrats to anyone watching right now that picked up one of my Puma hoodies. Because you can't get them anymore. Limited time. So if you got one, you got a collector's item. Because they ain't coming back. But yeah, thanks, Philip, for your super chat, man. That's cool. Pearl Disciple wants to know, how can I prevent my sticks from warping in my stick bag? I didn't even know that was a thing. You can start by buying ProMark sticks, because I'm pretty sure that won't happen to them. George Phillips, what kind of cameras do you use to shoot my videos? That's a good question. For those that are interested in shooting themselves. I mean, I've upgraded a couple of times already, so the gear I'm using now is different than what I started out with. Currently, I shoot with a Canon 90D. As of January, I started filming my videos in 4K. So upgraded to a 90D. Before that, I had a Canon Rebel T5i. Great camera if you're starting out and you just want to shoot in 1080, which 1080 is still fine. Like most people consume content in 1080p. You don't have to go 4K, but things are kind of going in that direction, so that's why I wanted to upgrade. But that's what I was using before. I'm currently shooting this here live stream with my iPhone. I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. And I use that. Sometimes it's a second camera if I'm doing like foot cam stuff or like side view stuff, because the 11 Pro can shoot in 4K, so I'll use that as well as a side camera. But you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can shoot with these days. Everything shoots in at least 1080p now, so take your pick. Hold up. Let me catch up here, man. Let me catch up, y'all. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Sam Gregg, what are my thoughts on electric kits? It depends on the application. For practicing, they're fantastic. Especially if you're in a situation where you can't have real drums in the house. On the one hand, I think they're great. On the other hand, you know, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to practice on the drums, use real drums. But I understand not everyone can do that. So the practice applications for or on electronic kits are great because you can just plug something right into it and play along to music or whatever. Built-in click, bunch of different sounds. It's all pretty motivating stuff. The drawback is that you're doing this, right? You're not playing a real head. And I don't care what kind of robotic space rubber they're using and trying to sell you on feeling like real heads, you're not going to do it. You can't do it. You have to play on real heads. But, you know, again, if you're in that situation, you got to get an electronic kit. The cool thing about drumming is that, you know, all the limb movements are the same. So if you can practice on an electronic kit, you'll be able to do the same thing once you jump on one of these. What you're going to be missing out on is just the human aspect of what these things can do. The nuances and all that, you're going to be missing out on. So for practice purposes, electronic kits, fantastic. For gigging, freaking nightmare. That's just my opinion. I can't stand gigging on electronic kits. Like, it just, because the drums are like, they're such an expressive instrument. Trying to get any kind of emotion out of an electronic kit, I don't even care which one it is, man. I don't care if it's the flagship Roland TD, whatever it is that's out right now. It's freaking horrible. It's like trying to tickle a mannequin. You know what I mean? It's a really horrible experience. I tried to do a clinic on one once, and it was just a nightmare. So, yeah. So for practicing, they're great. For gigging, not so much. Let me scroll back for a second. Paulo Matozzi has got a question about developing independence. Do you have any suggestions regarding developing independence on up-tempo? Any method? Yeah, just find some good independence exercises. The most important thing about practicing anything up-tempo is to not focus on the speed. The speed is not nearly as important as form. So the best way, in my humble opinion, to practice how to do anything fast is to practice it slow. The reason why is because learning how to do anything fast, that's all muscle memory, right? For muscle memory to happen, your muscles got to learn how to move first. So if you try to rush into something and your target is speed, it doesn't matter how fast you can play if your form's messed up. So the important thing is to learn the form first. I can guarantee you, if you're working on any kind of independence exercises on the kit, if you get the movements correct and you start them slow and you gradually bump your speed up in small increments, like 5 BPM at a time, you'll eventually hit that high tempo. And the thing about it is that it's going to sound just as clean up here as it did down here. But if you go straight for speed, you're not going to make any progress. Learn the movement first, get the form, and then speed up. Scout Sniper wants to know nylon or wood tips. I'm a big fan of wood tip sticks. I like how they feel. I do a lot of dancing and stuff on my hi-hats, right? And I just like the way the wood tips feel. And I love the way wood tips sound on my cymbals. So I used nylon tips for a very small, like a very short period of time, way back in the day. I'm all about wood tip now. Gene Lake, I need you to clarify, because if you're the Gene Lake and you're saying what's up, a huge what's up to you in return, because you're seriously one of my favorite drummers ever. So clarify, Gene Lake, if you're still watching, let me know if it's the Gene Lake, Mr. Steve Coleman Gene Lake, because good gosh, you are a hero, my friend. Excuse the awkward silence. I'm just reading, just catching up. Catching up. Robert Howie's been jamming in my backing tracks on YouTube Music. Thanks very much for the support. If you didn't know, if you're watching right now, I do have 2 play-along track albums that are available. If you go to any one of my recent videos, the link will be in the description box. One of them is called Beatdown's Pocket Builders. It's just it's 10 songs, 10 relatively easy tunes. And they're just designed to help you work on your groove. The other one I have is called, what's it called? Yeah, Solo Comps for Drummers. And that one is strictly to help you develop your soloing. They're just loops that go on for about 5 minutes at a time. Musical phrases, but they loop. And it's a great way to help you to develop your improvisational skills. So check those out. Carlos from Portugal would like to know about Warm-up routines, stretching. Hang on, you disappeared. There you go. How important and what kind of exercise, warm-up, as in stretching, do you do? I like to just get the blood flowing through the hands. And it's just, you know, I do a little bit of stretching. Like one of my go-to stretches that I like to do. You know what, in thinking about it now, maybe I do have a routine. But one thing I like to do is I'll just kind of, I'll do one of these. Let me turn around. So you can get a better look at my shirt. So yeah, I'll do that kind of thing, typically, while I'm on the stage. Like I don't do this for like an hour. Before we get ready, I'll do that. Both of the hands. Sometimes I'll stretch the fingers out, you know, get those muscles nice and loose. But yeah, so I'll do that each hand. And then one thing that I started doing, which looks silly when you see it, but I do this dog paddle thing. Like that. I just kind of disconnect my hand at my wrist and just make it a floppy piece of nothing. And then I try to move my forearms from here and then just let them flop. Just like that. So I go this way and then this way. And like I said, it looks a little silly, but it really helps to get the hands loose when you pick your sticks up. And just flop them around, man. Just like that. So yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I'm good to go. As far as warming up on the pad, I don't do anything fancy, man. I just get the singles happening. Doubles. Those are my go-tos, singles and doubles. Couple minutes of that, you're all warmed up. Dia Drummer wants to know, and this is kind of going along with that. We were talking about electronic kits earlier. He's got a question about playing on electronic kits, and will it hurt your progression if you practice on those too often? I guess is the gist of what it's saying. I don't know if it'll necessarily hold you back. As far as hurting your progression, I don't know, man. Like it really, you know what? I think it might affect your musicality a little bit because you can't get any dynamics out of electronic kits. They sort of design them so that if you hit it softer, you know, it'll respond because the triggers are sensitive. But it's not the same. It's not the same as doing a cymbal swell, or it's not the same as, you know, doing a double stroke sort of crescendo on a floor tom. You're missing out on all of that wonderful human stuff. So I think, you know, in thinking about your question now, it'll probably affect your musicality. You'll get all the movements down, which is fine. But the ultimate goal is to make music on these, and dynamics is a huge, huge part of that. So that's my take on that. I think it actually will hurt your musicality. Noe Moreno wants to know if I have any recommendations for tom heads on a cheap kit. Yeah, I think on cheaper kits, it's been my experience working in a music store because we used to sell a lot of really cheap kits. 2-ply heads will make a difference. So if you're going to swap out your stock heads, or if you buy a used kit and there's crappy heads on them, get a good 2-ply head. So like an Evans G2 or a UV2, or if you're a Remo guy or girl, Emperors, like Remo Emperors, just switch to like a good 2-ply skin to replace the heads on your cheap kit. It's not going to make them sound amazing, but it'll make them sound way better than the stock ones. Conrado Moreno from Poland. That's crazy, man. Shout out to Poland. A phone. I'm going to assume that's not your real name. If it is, I feel bad for you, but he wants to know what my favorite ride is. My favorite ride under $500. You know what? I mean, it's kind of, I haven't played a variety of rides in a very long time. When I worked at a music store, I played a lot of them. I think from what I'm seeing, there's a good number of them that are under $500 these days. But one of my favorite inexpensive rides, Peisty has this line called a PST7. And they're sort of like a higher end intermediate kit. As far as budget rides go, that thing sounds awesome. It sounds almost like a 2002. It's kind of the same alloy. It's just sort of a cheaper version. And I can't remember how much they are, but they're really cheap. They might be under 200. Check those out. Danny Visen. Is that your last name? I think it's your last name. What practice pad am I using? This is the Evans Real Feel Barney Beats Red. That's a mouthful. Yeah, that's what this is. You can find these at Sweetwater, or most music stores will get these now. But yeah, it's their regular their regular Real Feel pad. But they got this sort of, I don't know if it's a limited edition, but they have these red ones out now. But if you can't find the red one, the original Real Feel is the exact same thing. So just won't look as cool as mine, that's all. Gene Lake confirmed that it is in fact him. That makes me feel real good, man. Gene Lake, if you're still watching, shout out to you. And if anybody out here is watching and you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, type in Gene Lake drummer and watch this dude blow. This guy's been one of my favorite drummers for quite a long time. So shout out to Gene Lake, man. Thanks for watching. Ben Finnell, could I do a video on Logic or using a DAW for recording drums? I've thought about doing it, but you know what, man? I'm so not a techie kind of person. I can get done what I need to get done to get the videos done, to get recording like online sessions done. But I'm no Austin Burcham. You know what I mean? Like he knows that stuff a lot more than I do. So I'm just like, I'm not, and until I feel like I'm 100% confident at something, I won't teach it. And I think I'm just kind of lazy. Lazy in the sense that, I don't like to sit down reading manuals and all that other kind of stuff. Honestly, how I do it, how I get my drums to sound good, first of all, I start with the drums and make sure They sound hot. So it starts with learning how to tune your drums, learning how to hit your drums, right? Starts there. Because it doesn't make any difference what kind of setup you got, what mics you're using. If your drums sound horrible, your mics aren't going to help it. So I start there. And then honestly, when I put them into Logic, I just start fiddling stuff until it sounds good to me, and then I'm done. Twisting knobs and faders and stuff like that. I might just drop a simple plug-in on one of the channels, but that's really all to it. Like I'm not an engineer. I know what my ears like. I know what I want my drums to sound like, and that's really all I do, man. So yeah, at least not yet. Maybe later on, like if I get a little bit deeper into the Logic thing, maybe. One last look. You know what? It's already 3:57. That's insane because it feels like we just started. So I'm going to find one last question, then we're going to wrap this up. Klaus Isaacson, man, you know what? I want to give you another shout out because I know you're a regular and I see your super chat here, another donation. Thanks for watching, man. Appreciate it. Trevor Birch says, I have him thinking about Pisces Dark Energy. If you haven't already seen it, I was fortunate enough to do a full ad for Pisces that they released on their channel last week, I think it was. This was an honor for me. Like, this is one of those things I used to daydream about in high school. But yeah, I shot it here in my studio, but I have a whole like 5-minute little infomercial on the dark energy symbols. Make sure you check that out if you haven't seen it. If you're contemplating getting dark energies, I promise you, it's a good move. One last question here because it sounds interesting from Simon Moranga. Do you think having a really crappy drum set can affect the way you sound even if you're good at playing? Honestly, I don't think so. I honestly don't think so, man. If you're a really experienced drummer, Dave Weckl could sit on a toy kit and make it sound amazing, right? The touch, the sound, I should say, comes out of your hands, believe it or not. You can tweak things on a really cheap kit to get it sound half decent, but it ultimately comes down to your own expression. And it's you that's going to get the drums to sound good. So, you know, if I'm in a situation, if I'm at a gig or whatever, and I show up and the drums aren't ideal, they're in not so great shape, I don't complain. I see it as a challenge. As long as I can tune it up to get it to sound half decent, then I see it as more of a challenge. It's just that inner voice is like, okay, watch what I can do on this thing. So that's my take on that. Don't worry about the drums, man. The drums aren't going to make you sound good. You're going to make you sound good. So I don't worry about that. But anywho's, it's been an hour already. And that's nuts. Like, it feels like it's only been like 15 minutes. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in for another live stream. If you're unaware, I try to do these once a month. Typically, it's the last Friday of every month. We all meet here, we hang out, we ask questions, have a couple laughs, whatever. And it's a cool thing, man. I like doing these. I like finding out where everybody's watching from. It's good to know that there are people all over the planet checking out this channel. It's just a cool feeling. So thanks everyone for tuning in. It's a good time. Make sure you check out the next one. Last Friday of next month, we're going to be doing this again. And that's about it, man. Keep practicing. Keep checking out the videos. We'll have another one out next week for you. And I guess that's it. Shout out to everyone watching.